Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Yam bhikkhave sadevakassa lokassa samarakassa sabbrahmakassa sassamana brahmaniya pajaya sadeva manussaya dittang sutam mutang viññātaṃ pattaṃ pariyesitaṃ anuvicaritang manasa tamahang janāmi tamahang abbaññāsiṃ tan tathāgatassa viditaṃ tan tathāgato na upatthāsīti. Dear venerable brothers, Dhamma friends, actually we have taken a very interesting but quite deep sutta called Kalakarama Sutta as the theme for this Kalalgoda retreat. And we already covered 4 Dhamma sermons in it. And this sutta, as you probably know, is uttered by the Buddha while he was dwelling in Kalakarama. Kalakarama is we can say a monastery built by one person called Kalaka. Kalaka is actually we can say in today's terms, the uncle of Chula Subhadra. Chula Subhadra is the daughter of Anatha Pindika. A kind of relationships are there. So Anatha Pindika is a devoted Buddhist who is one of the very faithful followers of the Buddha, and he had a daughter called Chula Subhadra. She was married to a person who is not in the Buddhist tradition, and she went there and she refused to adhere to the kind of naked ascetics tradition. Once she refused, so this particular Kalaka, the uncle, and he basically, that is the father-in-law actually. So father-in-law, this Kalaka, basically kind of made a kind of a challenge. Okay, if they are not the Arahant, if they are not the enlightened one, who are the enlightened one? Who do you know more sublime, more noble? Accordingly, then Chula Subhadra invited the Buddha and the Sangha, and they arrived this area, Saketa, and then Buddha was able to convince the people, and not only the Chula Subhadra, even this Kalaka became a stream winner. He was actually following a different faith, but now after Buddha's arrival, so this Kalaka became a faithful Buddhist. Not only that, he became a stream winner. And then he offered his land to the Sangha, to the Buddha and the Sangha. There they have established a monastery called Kalakarama. So this is the kind of a background information to this particular sutta, Kalakarama Sutta. So there are now many other residents have become monks during that time because they become so faithful, they were quite inspired by the Buddha's teaching. And now there are several monks in this Kalakarama, and they started talking about the change happened in this area. Previously this area was completely following some other traditions, other faiths, other beliefs. But now after the arrival of the Buddha, everybody started happy about his arrival, faithful about his arrival, and now they have become faithful Buddhists. They start practicing, and so it is a kind of a wonder happened here. So likewise the monks were so happy, the achievement by the Buddha. So basically talking about the kind of higher skills, higher qualities of the Buddha. Now that is being heard by the Buddha, and then he is arriving this particular gathering, and he is asking, okay, before my arrival, what was the topic that you were talking? And then monks were explaining him, Bhante, before your arrival, we were discussing about you, discussing about your exemplified qualities. So how you were able to convert or change all these different other followers to the Buddhist type of practice. So now all of them are following the Buddha, the Dhamma, the Sangha. So it's a wonderful change which has happened. So we were discussing about this. So now Buddha discussed this Kalakarama Sutta. So this audience which are already uplifted by the qualities of the Buddha, now Buddha is mentioning about further sublime qualities of him. So the Kalakarama Sutta appears in the Anguttara Nikaya, Chatukka Nipata, numerical discourses of the Buddha. And basically the arrangement of the teaching, arrangement of the sutta is basically divided into 5 categories. So the first category is called Sarvajñata Bhumi. So basically different levels of Buddha's understanding, we can say. So as we know, he is a fully enlightened person, but his achievement, his qualities are divided into 4 or 5 categories in this sutta. The first category we already discussed, called Sarvajñata Bhumi. His omniscience. So we briefly discussed about his omniscience during the last couple of months. So that is being explained in one part of the sutta. Then we move to the Shinasrava Bhumi. So that is what we are currently discussing, the second part. And then next we need to discuss about the Satya Bhumi, about the type of the teaching being entirely truth, based on the truth, unchanging truth, universal truth he is mentioning. So the truth part of the teaching, so that is the Satya. And then the fourth one is called the Sunyata Bhumi, particularly mentioning about the emptiness. The last part, the fifth part, is called the Tadi Bhumi, mentioning about his stability of the mind in a way. While an Arahant is going through, or while Buddha is going through the ups and downs of the life, vicissitudes of the life, how he is able to maintain a stable mind. That's the last part. So we are going one by one, and we already covered Sarvajñata Bhumi to some extent. Now we are discussing the Shinasrava Bhumi. So as you know, the Asrava, the term Asrava is available in this part. We can translate it as influxes. So defilements are there in the human mind, ignorantly following them, further and further emphasizing them, strengthening them. So when these defilements, these bad habits, wrong habits, but they are for long time, now very much like they become inculcated, engraved to the mind. We can call them as influxes. Now the mind is fairly conditioned by these taints. So previously assumed like there was a kind of a pure mind, but as a result of long association with the various different kinds of defilements, now the mind become fully conditioned by the defilements. Now almost like mind has become colored, conditioned. And so deeply rooted certain wrong traits are there, inculcated, programmed into the mind. Temporarily we can remove the defilements, but it doesn't guarantee they won't arise again. Say for example, none of you may have any hate right now, any hateful thoughts, but it doesn't guarantee that once you go out, you won't get it. So similarly, none of you may have any conceit right now, but it doesn't guarantee in the future you won't get it. So likewise, currently our minds may be free from certain defilements, still it does not guarantee entirely till our parinibbana, that particular defilement won't arise. So that's the problem. Temporarily we can maintain a fairly purified mind, but still there's a possibility again the defilements come and intrude, come and attack, or come and invade the mind, condition the mind. So therefore the practice has to be done in many different ways, or have to be in multitude ways to address these kind of things. Mere samadhi practice might not handle the problem. Say for example, you are able to develop anapanasati, and now your mind is well concentrated. You are able to maintain your mind in a that samadhi concentration in a really blissful way for say half an hour, and no lust, no hatred, no delusion, almost like a saint. But once you go out, maybe tomorrow or maybe in the next Monday, once you return back to your office, again you might get angry, again you might get defiled or end up with an argument. All that is there. So that's the problem. So even though we are able to temporarily subside all these different hindrances or defilements, still there's a possibility that the mind again get defiled. So that's why we have to understand. So temporary appeasement, temporary kind of a suppression or subsiding does not guarantee the complete uprooting of the defilements. We have to take another deeper approach, a broader approach to handle the defilements. So we were touching a particular sutta talking about these influxes, widely known as the Sabbasava Sutta. Last time we taken that to discuss, even though the main topic is Kalakarama Sutta, since now we are dealing with the Shinashrava Bhumi, how all the different kinds of asavas, influxes or taints are going to be abandoned. Now that subject is very well handled in this second sutta of the Majjhima Nikaya called the Sabbasava Sutta. In that particular Sabbasava Sutta, so Buddha starts the sutta telling, okay, I am going to tell you all different possibilities, all different strategies, how to overcome, how to abandon asavas. So therefore it's a very, very interesting sutta and it's worth reading, paying attention, because in a fairly comprehensive way, Buddha is talking about how to tackle these influxes. It is not merely by meditation. Meditation is one subject. Actually, he is talking about 7 such strategies in a way. And starting with the very simple strategy, Samvara Pahatabba. Say actually the Dasana Pahatabba is the very first one mentioned in the sutta, but I like to take it later. So we'll start with the very easy one, Samvara Pahatabba. So how one is restraining oneself. Say for example, you are able to look at many things because your eyes are healthy and you are well to do and you can go and see many things. But the issue is, more you look at such kind of say unworthy type of things, wrong things, bad things, so then your mind is the one going to get affected. Your mind is the one going to get polluted, in a way, defiled. So you are maintaining some kind of a restraint therefore, knowingly. Okay, is it possible? I have the ability, I have the possibility to look at anything, hear anything, smell, taste, touch, think. But I am the one going to pay for that. In case I am not taking care of my faculties. So handling our faculties, eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind properly, when we are dealing with the outside world, is something that we have to take care of. So even though I am capable, even though I am healthy, my eyes, ears, these are healthy. So if I am going to misuse them, then I have to pay for that in the long run. Because as we are using them in a kind of unrestrained manner, so that whatever the sight, smells, taste, all that have an impact in the mind. Even though we see things, eyes might not gather anything, but the mind can get polluted. Ears might not accumulate anything, hold anything, but the mind can get sort of defiled. Mind can even store things. Mind can remember what I have heard, what I have smelled, what I have seen. So therefore, the mind is the one going to get affected. So we have to be careful what is the food that I am giving. Through the eyes, what I am looking at. Through the ears, what I am hearing, listening. Through the nose, what I am going to smell. Through the tongue, what I am going to taste. Through the body, what I am going to experience. Or through the mind, what I am going to think. So already my mind is to some extent polluted in a way, defiled. So already certain amount of defilements are there. That's why I am easily getting angry, Easily I become restless, easily I get agitated, easily I become lustful. So any kind of different defiled characteristics we can discuss, and we can understand, okay, I can't maintain my mind completely pure every time. Even though that is my wish, that is my aim, I can't do that, because still certain defilements are there, certain traits are there. They come and impact the mind, influence the mind, ultimately it gets defiled. So if that is the situation currently, so don't further pollute it. So try to at least stop right now. So don't further pollute it by further adding garbage. Already polluted, already defiled. So that's the kind of a theme in the Samvara Pahatabba. So you are doing kind of a purposeful restrainment. In a way, little forceful in a way. Because mind is asking that. Say for example, you like to watch YouTube. Or you like to spend more time in Facebook. Nowadays, these things are more taking our time, screen time. So you are really fond of spending hours in YouTube. So what's going to happen to your mind? Say you are more into politics, or you are more into music, or you are into film industry, or whatever. So you are spending too much time on that. So ultimately your mind is the one going to get affected. Again, you are wasting fair amount of time. So likewise, even though the facilities are available, ultimately the mind is the one going to affected. So currently, what are you going to do then? So you are putting certain restrictions to yourself. So I'm not going to look at YouTube too much. I'm not going to use Facebook too much. I'm just taking today's terms so that we can easily understand. I'm not going to participate in too many parties. So whatever it is. So depends on your context, you can understand. So how I am spending my time. So what are the possibilities? My mind get polluted, my mind get defiled. So I am recognizing those possibilities, and now I am adding certain kind of a restriction to myself. So this is one approach actually. We can't say this is the best approach, but this is one approach. That is also necessary, because immediately we can't develop a very strong mindfulness. Immediately we can't develop a very strong insight. At the beginning, our minds are quite vulnerable. We are in a little pathetic state. So therefore, I am restricting my behavior in a way. So this is what the Samvara Pahatabba. So now I am restraining myself. The second one is called Patisevana Pahatabba. So as human beings, we have to use many facilities, many devices, or many other resources. So while using those, how are we properly handling them? Say for example, I am eating. So if you are too much greedy and you are eating too much, or you are going after that, you are thinking about it too much, you have no reflection at all, you can't remember for what purpose you are eating. Probably you are comparing your amount, your food with someone, and you might think, okay, I'm more gifted, or you are not that gifted. Many different ways, even this little food can make the mind defiled. Similarly, last time we discussed how to use a vehicle. So we are using a vehicle because we can't walk from this place to a very far distance. So that's why we are using a vehicle. So are we remember that purpose, or are we trying to use the vehicle to show our status? What do you think? Say many different kinds of car models are there, many different vehicles are there. So why are we selecting a particular model, particular vehicle? Is it merely because of the comfort, or you have certain attraction toward that, a particular brand, particular model, or you want to say, okay, this is the type of model type of a vehicle that my category of people, my class of people are using, so that I can show my status. Others get impressed by seeing that when I am traveling by a BMW. Likewise, we can, with respect to traveling, with respect to this kind of a commodity, we can take many different levels. But in the bottom line, why we are using a vehicle is because I can't simply travel that long. I need some kind of a mechanism to travel. I am not capable of quickly traveling to a far distance using my own. So similarly, the food, the clothing, medicine, and our dwelling places, our homes, all we are using because for some particular reason, a proper reason, but often we forget it. We are misusing in a way those facilities. Either food, either our dwelling place, either our medicine, or either our clothing. Clothing, you all know, right? So how we are using the clothing. The purpose of clothing is actually to hide our private parts and maybe to protect from the heat, cold, and to become more decent. Maybe some fair reasons are there. But is it the only way are we adorning ourselves, preparing ourselves? There are many competitions are there showing different clothes, and many different patterns, styles are there to attract others, and many different selections are there depending on the occasion. So with respect to clothing, many areas are there. So I am not an expert in that, but there are experts in that area. You can ask one of them. How many details are there with respect to clothing? But actually the sole purpose of clothing, the clothes, are just to cover ourselves, to protect from heat, protect from the cold, maybe to cover the parts. So that's basically the reasons. But we, rather than knowing or forgetting that, we are using the clothes to defile the minds, not only ours, even to the others. So likewise, many different requisites are there which are quite necessary for us to maintain our life. So the Buddha therefore emphasized, monks particularly, the followers, okay, whenever you are using the foods, do a proper reflection. For what purpose you are using this food? Whenever you are wearing the robes, the clothes, do a proper reflection. For what purpose I am using these robes? Whenever you are using the medicine, recognize, reflect, for what purpose I am using it. Whenever you are entering your house, home, your kuti, dwelling place, reflect for what purpose you are using it. So the idea is, whenever we are using any kind of a resource, any kind of a facility, any kind of a requisite, so don't use that as a way to defile the mind. So in a way we are guarding the mind now, more concerned about the purity of the mind, because we as human beings, we all need all these different requisites to maintain the body. But we are being careful not to have an additional burden or additional headache because of those. Be careful not to pollute the mind while we are using these requisites. So that covers us under the Patisevana Pahatabba. While properly, wisely reflecting, you are using many different requisites, many different resources, facilities, etc. And then the last one we discuss is the Adivasana Pahatabba. So nowadays it's quite hot. So there is no air conditioner here. There are no any other ways to, cool down ourselves. So but there is one option available. What is that? Patience. Adivasana Pahatabba. Just be patient. So compared to our situation, there are maybe other countries maybe experiencing heat waves, etc. And some people might have already died using those. But we are in a better position in that sense. But still we might feel a little uncomfortable, but that discomfort we need to bear. Adivasana Pahatabba. So patience is one very important part a practice we need to undertake, because otherwise we are inviting many defilements, improving many defilements, increasing many defilements, because we don't have enough patience. So say for example you are waiting for a bus and it is quite a while now. You can become slowly impatient. You might curse in the government, you might curse the other whoever, and you become angry, you become agitated, even you may start arguing with the other person. So many issues can happen, a quarrel can happen even, because you don't have the patience. So similarly, nowadays we are very much moving towards kind of a instantaneous solutions, not having any patience. And we need quick results, instantaneous results, solutions, but we can't wait, isn't it? So slowly we are moving towards a very impatient kind of a mentality. I can't wait till something happens. Become very impatient, quite agitated while waiting. But patience is something which is quite necessary in the spiritual practice. Now say for example, here of course we can feel some discomfort, fine. But if we are impatient, probably I might feel agitated, I might feel restless, I want to get out, I want to abandon the retreat. So all things can happen. But if I am tolerating it, I am coping up with it, then not a big deal. I can simply be patient. So likewise in our life, we can't say that every time we are given the best opportunities, best possibilities, and we may encounter many different hardships. So all those hardships giving us a situation, giving us a possibility, a good lesson, okay, how to develop patience. Patience is a must to develop. And if we are to develop it, we need to have some hardships also. So without hardships, you can't develop patience. So you can ask some hardships probably for you to develop patience. Another possibility. Or else anyway, these different hardships anyway will come your way. And during that time, we have to be patient. So adivasana pahatabba, therefore Buddha actually in a broader way, he explains maybe you might have certain sickness, certain ailment, certain pain. And probably you might have already consulted a doctor. He has given some medicine, but still the bodily pain or whatever the aches, still kind of tormenting. There is no option. You have to be patient. You can't share with someone else. You have to bear it. So these different kinds of aches, pains, ailments, all that, whatever the discomfort coming from those, we have to bear. We can take medicine, of course, we can use some painkillers if you want, but the best option is maintaining fair amount of patience. And similarly, say if you are in a forest or if you are in another such place, you might encounter mosquitoes, maybe flies, or the snakes. So many different such issues are there. Still you have to be patient. While we may be in a city, we might encounter traffic, we might encounter this kind of high population or heat. So many issues are there even in the city. But we have no control to change them. Only option is to be patient. So likewise, our life offers us many different opportunities to develop patience. If we are not patient, then we are asking for trouble. We encounter kind of a situation and we end up with an argument, we quarrel, and agitate, frustrate, stressed up. So many issues are there because we don't know how to be patient. So therefore, adivasana pahatabba is another very important area. So if we have fair amount of patience, as a result of that, you are not allowing the mind to get polluted, mind to get defiled. So the underneath understanding or the goal is to keep the mind undefiled, fairly purified, maintaining that purity. But situation is difficult, by the way. The circumstances provided by the outside situation is quite difficult. But if I am becoming impatient, my mind is the one going to get affected. My mind is the one going to get defiled. So I am being patient, take caring of the mind, maintaining the well-being of the mind. So patience is another area Buddha explained. Now we can further expand this same topic. What Buddha mentioned as the next strategy is called parivajjana pahatabba. Avoiding. Parivajjana pahatabba. So there may be situations, probably risky areas, dangerous areas are there. Say for example, you probably heard, okay, this particular area has certain thieves. You have heard about it. Then probably you avoid it. You don't need to go there. If you have heard it, why are you going to take a risk? You don't need to go there. Say you heard that someone is maintaining ill temper and he is with bad habits. He is not a good person, and many being affected by his wrong behavior, and they also have become kind of bad behavior. So if you know that he is not a worthy person to associate, then we can avoid association. So the papamittata is a cause for downfall. So therefore, here in this area, parivajjana pahatabba, Buddha mentioned many different areas. So the association, for example. So who are we going to associate? So if we associate a certain person who is more into the drugs, more into the alcoholism, more into the any other kind of bad behavior, probably he might influence us also, and we might also end up with going in the wrong direction. So therefore, knowing the bad behaviors, knowing those kind of ill-tempered people, we better avoid them. So that is advice given here. Similarly, there may be risky areas, dangerous areas, and if you are going there, visiting there, associating that, probably you might end up with some risk, end up with some danger. Better avoid it. So therefore, in the parivajjana pahatabba, so the one criteria Buddha given is that certain situations are there, you might have to be patient. On the other hand, certain situations are there, you have to avoid. So difficult to decide in a way sometimes. You can't give a hard and fast rule, okay, these are the areas you should not go, these are the areas you better go, and maybe become patient. So we can't have a kind of a easy rule here. So it depends on the situation. It depends on how we are going to encounter those different situations. Depending on that, we need to adjust ourselves. Now, one criteria Buddha given here is, say, when you are associating someone or any situation, if the unwholesome qualities in your mind are going to develop, wholesome qualities are going to reduce, are you going to continue that association? Hope you are with me, not sleeping. Say a scenario that you are associating someone. After association, you found that your faith is reducing. Your faith towards the Dhamma was reducing. You were previously meditating, you were working hard, but now you lost that interest. You lost that inspiration. And now you also want to participate something else, and you also start drinking or this and that. So if you recognize that my wholesome qualities are into the decline and unwholesome qualities are increasing, then we need to decide, okay, this is not a proper association. I better stop this association. So likewise in our life, there may be situations we have to decide who to associate, who to not associate. Once you step into the spiritual life, so there may be certain people we have to drop. There may be others who are now newly you encounter, who are on the same path, who have the same aspirations, then probably you can have a good relationship with them. So likewise, we have to decide whom to associate, whom to not to associate. So the criteria is whether our wholesome qualities are developing, unwholesome qualities are reducing, then we can continue that association. No harm. Because wholesome side is developing. Unwholesome side is reducing. Then another strategy Buddha mentioned in this Sabbasava Sutta is called Vinodana Pahatabba. Removing from the mind. Now we already discussed Samvara Pahatabba, kind of a restrainment. Then Patisevana Pahatabba, that means when we are dealing with many requisites, we have to properly reflect so that as a result of that association of those requisites, my mind is not get defiled. I know what is the proper purpose of it. Adivasana Pahatabba, I am maintaining the patience when it is necessary, not allowing the mind to get polluted, defiled. Then Parivajjana Pahatabba, I know this is a risky area, I know he is a bad person, so I am not going to associate. I know there is a risk there, so I am protecting myself. You do the proper reflection. And now we are going to talk about the Vinodana Pahatabba. Now here actually the thoughts. So different kinds of thoughts are there. Now here many different stages we have to talk actually. At first probably we are as much as possible trying to keep the mind free from too much lust, free from too much anger, free from maybe kind of cruel thoughts. Probably mind like to think certain cruel thoughts, planning about someone's harm, someone's danger, or planning about someone's decline, downfall, harming, all that. Thoughts can happen in our mind, and too much lustful thoughts can happen in our mind. Angry thoughts can happen in our mind. So when it is happening, rather than promoting it, rather than harboring it further and further, so the advice is use some strategy to overcome it. We can come to a stage when we are in the Satipatthana practice, once we are in the Chittanupassana, we can look at from a different angle, but we are not yet to that level. For example, say you are just a beginner and your mind is constantly bombarded with various sensuality related thoughts, more and more thoughts related to the sex, more and more thoughts about the sensuality, possible. And probably if you are not restraining your faculties, probably you are associating bad friends also, and probably you are looking at some bad videos also, further increasing the problem. So if you want to switch to the other side, probably you have to restrain one area, restrainment. Now you stop watching those. You are putting a restriction to yourself. And on the other hand, you are not associating those bad people who are promoting it, who are, trying to grab you also into that wrong side. So you are avoiding them. That's another strategy. Both are necessary. And now we can look at our mind. Because of that bad association, because of that bad influence. So my mind is the one got polluted. Now this fellow is thinking too many lustful thoughts. Now I have an issue here. So how to overcome? So different approaches probably possible. So one traditional approach is to look at the loathsomeness of the body in a way. Say lustful thoughts are coming because I have taken this body as really beautiful, the others' bodies are really beautiful, really attractive, really awesome. So how about seeing the other side? How to penetrate at least few millimeters in this skin, isn't it? So if you simply look at the skin, so beautiful, can you penetrate the skin few millimeters and look at it? Is it beautiful? So similarly, so purposely now you are trying to recognize the loathsomeness of the body parts, we say. So this body consists of various different loathsome body parts. So this is the reality. No point of being attracted to them. It is simply a cover what we are having, what we can see. Simply a wrapper. So once you take out the wrapper, then you can see the reality. It is not attractive. None of the body parts are attractive once the wrapper is taken out. So if we look at from that angle, then the lust might not stay longer in the mind. So this is a very traditional method. And in the good old days, they even visit the cemetery to look at the dead corpse, and so that the further loathsomeness may arise in one's mind. Or you can even look at certain pictures. Nowadays those are available, maybe such kind of videos, so that loathsomeness arise, and you know this is the reality of this body. It is not a really beautiful, attractive body we all are having, but this is the reality what we are sharing. So this kind of very realistic way of looking at the body help us to avoid too many lustful thoughts. Now, here Buddha mentioned into any of these categories, he is saying, Nadivaseti pajahati vinodeti vyanti karoti anabhavam gameti. Nadivaseti. So whenever those lustful thoughts are keep on coming in the mind, Nadivaseti means you are not tolerating it. You want to do something. So if you allow the mind to think again and again onto this same line, too many lustful thoughts, don't know where I am going to end up. Probably you might end up with adultery or this kind of entirely really bad habit. You understand the danger, so therefore you are not going to tolerate that. So now you are the kind of responsible for what is going on in the mind. What will be the repercussion if I am allowing the mind to do the same thing again and again? Too many lustful thoughts, and I have to take care of it now. I have to do something. So you are not tolerating it now. Nadivaseti. And pajahati, you need to abandon it. So one strategy I just mentioned is that you are adding the opposite. If it is the lustful thoughts, okay, we are developing the opposite side. Okay, I am trying to recognize the loathsomeness side of the body. So I am becoming more realistic. So the lustful thoughts might not remain long time because there is an antidote operating in the mind. We'll take another example. Say I am getting easily angry. Too many angry thoughts. Too much of thoughts of ill will. I can't maintain my behavior for a long time in a calm type of a way, but easily get angry. Easily scold the others. Easily get the kind of argument, get into arguments. So then probably you need to understand, okay, this is a kind of bad behavior in this, my character. I better address it. So others may be complaining, my children are complaining, my husband is complaining, my wife is complaining, my friends are complaining. Okay, if you honestly understand, okay, this is a kind of a character, a kind of a behavior I need to address, so don't tolerate it now. So better take some action. Anger management. Maybe a good cause. Anger management course. Nowadays, these courses are also available. Anger management course. Probably you can enroll to an anger management course. Or probably you can develop some loving kindness meditation. So that's the traditional answer typically given. So, or else we can go to other different areas, like for example, say you easily get angry with your mother, for example. I'm just taking a typical example. Because she's always looking at you and always want to guide you, always want to do what she wants. and you get easily angry now. So when you get easily angry like that, probably you can look at from a different angle. So what is the ambition in her? Maybe she wants to make me happy. She wants to make me a good civilian. She wants to put me in the right track. I might not up to the standard as what she is expecting, but she is doing it with out of compassion in a way. Probably with some harsh words, don't know. Anyway, likewise, probably I can start thinking in a different angle rather than finding fault with her. So what is the intention behind her? So what are the good qualities in her? How well that she has taken care of me? How well she has guided me? How well she has protected me? So likewise, now when the mind is trying to find fault with her, you are now starting a different thread. Okay, what are the good qualities in her? How she has helped me, maybe long time ago. When I was sick, how well she has taken care of me. So likewise, so there are certain suttas that it is mentioned. So rather than allowing the mind to promote anger, so you purposely introduce a different angle, which you see the good side of that person. Because whenever the anger is going on in one's mind, so typical thoughts can happen which is promoting the anger, further adversing the situation. Now we need to purposely introduce a different angle now. Okay, what are the good qualities in this person? Why is he doing like this? Why is he behaving like this? Is he having any issue, any other issue? Not really with me, but maybe a family problem, maybe a economics, financial problem, whatever it is, maybe a health issue. We don't know. We only saw the surface, but there may be some underneath reason. So likewise, rather than simply promoting the ongoing angry type of behavior, now we can look at from another angle. So many different strategies are there we can find in the Buddhist approach. And as a habit, probably we can develop the loving kindness, starting with yourself. Okay, you are maintaining kind of a loving, friendly attitude towards yourself. Same attitude with another person. As much as possible, so this kind of an attitude, loving kindness, when we are having, then less possibilities are there for the anger to attack. So we are taking an antidote, always having this loving kindness atmosphere in the mind, then maybe a fair amount of protection is there. So whenever anger arises, then probably you can take that antidote, probably you can look at the good qualities, take your attention to an entirely different thing. So as you know that in the Vipassana Sutta, 5 methods are mentioned. Either the replacement, either you understand the danger. If I am continuing this wrong side, wrong way of thinking, I might end up with the quarrel. So you understand the danger. Or you, in case you are capable of looking at the mind, have some experience about the Satipatthana, maybe Chittanupassana, you can look at the mind and see what were the thoughts before this thought, what were the thoughts previously. You are now turning the mind to a different direction. Rather than allowing the current trend to promote, you are looking the other side. So what is the previous incident which I was thinking? What were the thoughts before the current thoughts? Assume that you were able to remember, okay, these were the thoughts I was thinking before. Okay, what were the thoughts before those thoughts? Now you are using a different technique, Vitakka Sankhara Moola. Basically trying to figure out the root of the thoughts, previous stages of the thinking process. Ultimately you might see, okay, no anger. Because we were not promoting it. We haven't become a slave to the ongoing trend, ongoing habit pattern, thought pattern. Instead, I have taken a different approach, purposely, diverted my attention to something else. Now this trend was gone. So likewise, Buddha here, Nadivaseti, I am not tolerating this, whatever the unwholesome thought pattern. I need to address it. So pajahati, I want to abandon it. I have used a certain strategy, now it is abandoned. And vinodeti, now if possible to remove it, so that it might not happen for a while. It's not happening again in the mind quickly, but I have some kind of a assurance, okay, to some extent my mind is safe now. So probably we can try that. Now if we are into Satipatthana, so that is the advantage. Now we are equipped with more a deeper approach also. So that is what we discuss in the Chittanupassana. So this thought of ill will is another type of thought which has the nature to arise, change, pass away. Now rather than looking at the content of it, rather than driven by the content, you see the behavior of the thought. So this behavior of the thought, how a thought arises. A thought of ill will has the nature to arise. Previously, I suppose there was no anger, no ill will. But now you can trace, okay, there is a thought of ill will is trying to arise. A little bit of resistance arising in your mind, a little bit of agitation arising in your mind. A dislike is arising in your mind. Probably you start promoting it. You are adding to it. You remember what she or he has done before. Now you are adding to it, promoting it. Now you understand your participation, your fabrication into the picture. Now we are going a little deeper into our own mind. So what are these kind of wrong trends in the mind? Say whenever an anger thought arises, so how we are taking some similar thoughts, pop from different areas and further, promoting this angry mentality. If we didn't do that, then the thought of anger, ill will simply aroused, lasted only for a fraction of a second and then it will disappear. But we are the ones promoting it. We are the ones strengthening it. So if we are capable of looking at this part, then slowly we give up promoting it. We give up fabricating it. So likewise, probably you might have a mind free from anger and even possible no thinking, a mind completely silent. Thoughts are not essential for us to maintain our life, okay? There may be certain periods, okay, no thinking, no thoughts. Then we are at a very fairly capable level. Whenever a thought happens, you can easily see it's arising, it's passing away. It might not last for a long time. It might not torture you long time because you are more confident now. You are more capable now. Your mind is more stable now. Then we can say, okay, my mind is to some extent now capable, confident. Whenever anger happens, I know how to handle it. It's a mere thought. I don't need to give too much value to it, emphasis to it, because I know it has a nature to arise and pass away. I have seen it. I have experienced it again and again. I am quite sure about it. I know how to handle it. So that kind of a confidence, if it is arising in our mind, then probably we know how to handle it. So those are mentioned actually as different terms. Vyanti karoti anabhavang gameti. So you does away with it and you annihilate it. So now you know how to handle it and you don't even afraid of whenever anger thought or lustful thought arising, because you know it, they have the nature to pass away. Whatever have the nature to arise, they have the nature to pass away. It's an insight. So this Vinodana Pahatabba basically talks deeply about the Chittanupassana or even Dhammanupassana. Because now we are dealing with the mind. When defilements are arising, you are not tolerating it. That is the early stage. You use antidotes to overcome them. Maybe further we develop in the practice, Satipatthana practice, then we can have a different approach. Okay, these different thoughts, they are not really, kind of devils, but they are combination of many things. I have added my own parts, own fabrications, own imaginations into the picture. So how about avoiding that? Stopping my interference, adding my own likes and dislikes into the picture. So likewise, we start taking certain more wise type of approaches, so that whenever thoughts are happening, they have the nature to come and go. It's a universal behavior. Whatever condition phenomena, they have the nature to arise, change, pass away. I don't need to intervene even. I don't even have to do anything, because they have the nature to pass away. I stop my interference. I stop my promotion or feeding it, so that they naturally pass away. So likewise, this Vinodana Pahatabba is another area. So basically, how is it affecting the tense, influxes? Say for example, whenever angry thought arises, if I am promoting it, if I am keeping it long time, several days, my behavior, my temper is not good, keep too much anger in the mind, then the asavas, influxes in that line will be increased. The tendency, typically what we call as the patigahanusaya, the tendency to ill will be further promoted. If you are too much keeping the anger too long in the mind, you are promoting it, thinking too much, tolerating it, so the tendency will be further strengthened. But if we are wise, now we know how to quickly abandon it using different strategies. And now we are trying to maintain a fairly quiet mind, a silent mind, a serene mind. Then that tendency will be reduced. The tendency to ill will be reduced, because you are not promoting that tendency. The tendency will be slowly reduced. So therefore, these strategies, actually few more to discuss, and these strategies are very crucial as practitioners. Meditation alone is not the thing Buddha highlighted here. Many different approaches are mentioned to overcome influxes. So the subject is a fairly deeper subject. A mere suppression of defilements is not the thing. Many different approaches are there. We have to occupy many different approaches depending on the situation. So that's why many different approaches are explained here, and we may have to use all of these depending on the situation. Okay, with that note, I conclude today's Dhamma sermon. Thank you very much for attentive listening. Okay, there's a short note related to the lunch dana. Today's lunch dana was offered by Dishna Ranasinghe, transferring merits of lunch dana to her father Ajit Ranasinghe, wishing him a speedy recovery, and to all yogis participating to shorten samsara. Okay, I invite Venerable Dhammalankara to conduct the sharing of merits.